For the first time ever, the Flight Simulator franchise is coming to PlayStation. So, if you're looking to get into the amazing world of flight simulation, but you're not too sure where to start, you're wondering what the bare minimum hardware and software that you'll need to actually enjoy the sim, where to get them, and what to avoid. Get ready to take notes, because here's everything you need to know before starting. This includes players on PC, Xbox, and now PlayStation. Good morning, g'day, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from, I'm Oz, but you can call me later on 043. And I'm actually coming at you live from my car in a car park of a footy oval. So if you do hear some planes flying overhead, no, you're not hearing things. I'm actually out in the wild today because my housemate is asleep. So I thought I'd come out, and it actually looks so funny. I'm going to take a photo so you guys can see what I'm dealing with. Now, before we get into the good stuff, today's flight was one of my first ever long hauls where I set up the plane at about midnight and I left it overnight to then come back and land in the morning. This is very common in the flight sim world, and I don't know what it is, but the idea of just leaving the plane to sort of fly on autopilot overnight and then to be able to come back in the morning and you're pretty much at top of descent, there's something weirdly fun and interesting about that. So I thought I'd give it a crack, and thankfully nothing bad happened during this flight while I was asleep. In today's flight, we're going to be going from Sydney, Australia to Tokyo. Our route's going to be 4,381 miles with a total flight time of 9 hours and 27 minutes. We're carrying 75 tons of fuel. That's like 75 of my ex-girlfriends sitting on board. We've got some incredible views on this flight today and really cool shots coming to land, so make sure you stick around to the end of the video to see that. I haven't flown the iniBuilds A350 for a while, and I'm so impressed by all the information that they've now updated on their displays. So the PFDs, the navigation displays, system displays, it truly is incredible. Since the last time I flew it, half of this stuff was not included. So props to the iniBuilds team. This aircraft is a beautiful thing to fly on the sim. So I'll definitely be doing some more long haul flights in the A350 in the future. Speaking of the A350, I've never actually been on one in real life. It's one aircraft I really want to get on, but I just haven't had the chance yet. So my question to you for this video, have you flown on an A350 in real life? If so, let me know in the comments below. How was it? Now on to some aviation news. Qantas's new Airbus A321 XLR has finally landed. And unfortunately, it's going to be replacing my favorite plane, the Boeing 737. They're going to slowly phase the 737s out, I believe, and replace them with Airbus fleet. So I believe it's the 321s. I'm not sure if there's any other Airbus aircraft that they're going to be replacing them with. But for now, I believe it's the 321 XLRs. And they are a truly incredible piece of engineering, man. The range of the XLRs is around 8,700 kilometers compared to the current 737s that they're flying, which is around 4,800 kilometers. So that gives Qantas an extra roughly 3,000 kilometers of range out of this aircraft. And obviously, not to mention, so much more fuel efficient and far better for the environment. And in this world that we live in today, we all know that it's all about trying to save money and the environment at the same time. I would love to try and book a flight just to jump on the 321 XLR. Apparently, they've got free Wi-Fi on board, so that's handy as well. I mean, I could literally play Flight Simulator while flying on the plane itself. I feel like that's pretty crazy. I read that United Airlines has received FAA approval to deploy Starlink satellite internet on its Boeing 737-800 fleet, and the first commercial flights with Starlink will be expected to fly around mid-October this year. And speaking of Starlink, I actually bought Starlink for my house last week, I think it was, and oh my God. When I was doing live streams on TikTok quite regularly, a lot of the viewers would realize how shit my internet was, and there were a select few vouching for Starlink, saying how fast it was, how reliable it was, and I truly see what you mean now, and it's something I wish I got years ago. If you're from Australia, especially, you'll know that our internet is some of the worst in the world. So to be able to actually have fast, reliable internet, Starlink has just been incredible. Sorry, I'm literally just watching this junkie, and she's got like seeds. She's eating the seeds, but also throwing them on the ground as she walks away. This is why I don't leave the house, man. Quick life update. They say when it rains, it pours. And after episode 1, when I spoke about how much safer it is to fly than drive, I completely jinxed myself because that afternoon, a lady drove into me. Not into me as a human, but she drove into my car. I was driving straight, at this intersection. She was turning right and she somehow veered into my lane. And I don't know what's going on, but I'm finding that this is so much more common these days. Whenever people go around a corner, they sort of veer out before they turn the way they're meant to turn. So, mind you, she was driving a Suzuki Swift, probably the smallest car on earth. She denied that it was her fault. I said to her, I was driving straight. Like, I can't fuck that up. I've been driving for about 11 years now. I'm pretty sure I've nailed the straight and level drive. But anyway, I ended up booking my car into repairs and thankfully insurance covered that. But the day I was booked in to drop my car off at the repair joint, I had a flat tire. I've never had a flat tire in my life. Again, driving for about 11 years, never have I ever had to change one of my tires. But since then, I've got my original car back, which you can see I'm sitting in that photo that I just put up before. And it's kind of kicked me up the arse a bit to ensure I kind of look after it a bit more. So I actually gave it a nice vacuum, put some air in the tires, and even filled up the windscreen wiper water. So yeah, Dad, if you're listening, you'll be very proud of me, mate. Who am I kidding? He doesn't listen to me. Yesterday, I ticked off another flight lesson. And my God, it went extremely well. I walked away with a massive smile on my face. I couldn't have asked for a better day. The weather was immaculate. We were sort of looking at 25 degrees, so still, not a cloud in the sky, 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, absolutely pristine. So was super happy with how I performed in that lesson. We did a lot of medium level turns, climbing, descending turns, power off, gliding turns, quite a lot of work cycles and stuff to think about while doing a turn. I didn't actually expect so much detail in a simple turn. And if you listened to my last episode, I spoke about the lesson I had just prior to that episode, and it was probably the worst lesson I'd ever done. So to be able to back this up in a positive way makes me feel really confident and also just really positive and happy. Almost broke the plane though, coming into land. Shit, man, I slammed us down onto the runway. It was it was really rough. We actually lost the windsock at the airport because the winds in Melbourne have been really extreme the last week. So when I turned up to my lesson, I noticed there was no windsock. So I asked my instructor and he literally just said it blew off in the wind. So we didn't really have a visual guide on where the winds were blowing, what they were doing on the ground. I mean, I don't know why I'm blaming the wind for such a shit landing. I almost broke the plane. So I just need to get better at that, and I will. Now, if you did have a chance to listen to last episode about learning how to fly and what you should do before you start taking flight lessons, I mentioned in that episode I've been doing lessons during the week, Monday to Friday, because that's just the schedule that my instructor follows. He doesn't work Saturdays. But because the weather was so average during the week, I checked the weather forecast and saw that the Saturday was going to be the only day that was probably flyable conditions for me. So I actually messaged my instructor and asked him if there were any other instructors that he could recommend who actually work on Saturdays. And he did give me a number of this other guy. So I thought, why not? I'm just going to try him out. Perhaps it'd be good to get a different perspective and a different way of learning from a different instructor. And man, was I impressed. Wow. This guy was incredible. He had such a good knowledge of the plane. He was so clear and concise in briefing what we were about to do that lesson. During the flight, he was super encouraging, but also kind of pulled me up whenever I had to be pulled up. And I think I mentioned in last episode that if there is ever a situation where you're at a flight school and you might have to change instructors, if it's for the better of your learning and your progress, do it. And I think that's probably what I'm going to have to do. The fact that I can use this instructor on a Saturday, I could almost take my flight lessons to a weekly basis now. Hopefully, going forward, I'll be able to do some more lessons on the weekends. The only downside to that, of course, is I won't be with my original instructor, but this other instructor is just as good, and yeah, I'm very grateful for him. And last but not least, in the life update section, I've been going for a lot of runs, trying to eat a bit healthier. The weather's getting a bit warmer here in Melbourne. We're in October, and we're slowly coming into our warmer summer months. It just makes me so much more active and motivated to get out of the house when it's this time of the year. I've been going for sort of like 3K runs. Now, to some people, that's not a lot, but for me, I'm fucked after it. I come home gasping for air. But it does feel great getting back into eating better, eating healthier. Fuck, it's expensive. But I think, obviously, health isn't something that you can put a price on. So it's something I'm going to try and stick with for at least 8 weeks, just to see if I can see any improvement in my health. Alrighty, now onto the main topic. This is a guide for Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 only, not X-Plane. You may have heard recently Flight Sim 2024 has announced that they're coming to PlayStation. We're going to be talking about that in a minute and what to expect, what we know so far. Now, have you got your pens, your iPads, your typewriters, whatever you write on? Because I'm going to give you as much information that I have on this game right now. First of all, you need to pick a console. So you've got the choice of PC, Xbox, and now PS5. So firstly, decide what platform you're going to buy it on. I would recommend buying the game on PC. And the reason for that is Flight Simulator is a heavy game to run. Also, PC users can install literally thousands of free and paid add-ons, such as your sceneries, your aircrafts, your liveries, your utilities. Xbox only allows purchases through the in-game marketplace, which is far more limited, and they're usually slower to release updates and stuff like that as well. Now, graphics and performance control. On PC, you can tweak settings, so your resolution scaling, your shadows, your weather detail. You can really tweak the game to suit your system. So if you don't have such a strong PC, you can tweak the settings to low or medium or high-end settings throughout the whole game so that it actually runs well for what you use the simulator for. Or you can even upgrade your PC parts to suit the game. I mean, I've never heard of someone diving into an Xbox, opening it up and putting a graphics card in it. So the control that you have over the graphics and what performance you're going to get out of the game is so much more flexible on a PC as opposed to a console. Realism and utilities. PC lets you run external tools like Vatsim, Navigraph, SimBrief, all these third-party air traffic control plugins. Now, these tools that are both free and paid massively improve the realism and the immersion of the game. But from my knowledge, none or most of these just don't work on Xbox. For every single flight that I do, I use SimBrief, Navigraph, Charts, Volanta, and Beyond ATC, which is an air traffic control tool. If I couldn't use them because I was playing an Xbox, the flight would just feel so fake and it'd be so hard to kind of enjoy the immersion of the game. So this is another reason I would definitely recommend a PC over a console. Faster updates and fixes. Now, there's so many developers in the flight sim world, and without them, we'd be stuffed. We'd be stuck with the stock standard planes that Asobo and all the other original developers give us. So I thank third-party developers every single day for what they do for our flight sim community, but they do probably prioritize the updates and releases for PC first. I believe Xbox Marketplace has longer approval times, so add-ons and patches can really lag weeks or even months behind PC users. But personally, I just like knowing that I've got the most up-to-date system or up-to-date plugin. Multi-monitor and VR support. PC supports VR and multi-monitor setups, which is huge for immersion. I run 2 curved Samsung screens. I know a lot of people who run 3 or 4 screens for their flight sim setup. I don't think you can actually do this on Xbox. I believe it only supports a single display. And further to that, I don't think there's any VR support on Xbox as well. So you see a lot of flight simmers who play on Xbox with like a big TV in front of them because they have to, to sort of make up for the fact that they can't put 2 or 3 screens together. And, in this world where VR is becoming so much more advanced, you really want to be able to have a system that can handle that or even just support that, just in case you do go down that VR route. But again, if you are on a console, you're not going to be able to do that. So a quick summary, Xbox is great for plug and play and it's really good for your casual flight simmers, but PC is a bit more of a serious simmer choice. It just offers so much more. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to be a serious flight simulator expert if you want to play it on PC. You can get out of the flight sim what you want to get out of it. But just to summarize everything, buy a PC or build one if you can. Alrighty, so you've picked your platform and hopefully it's a PC. I'm going to go through a list of free and paid add-ons that you need to get before you start flying. So for flight planning and dispatch, SimBrief. SimBrief is a free web-hosted flight planning tool, and it's the gold standard for flight planning. SimBrief lets you generate real-world flight plans. So the ones that the big guys use up in the sky, you can actually recreate them and use them in your living room. It integrates directly with Flight Simulator, Volanta, and the most popular airplane add-ons like PMDG, Phoenix. It's 100% free. It does require an account, and there is a paid tier which gives you access to the Navigraph charts integration. I'll talk about Navigraph soon. So step one is get an account on SimBrief and just try and familiarize yourself with creating flight plans, learning how to read them, because it's going to make your flight so much more immersive, real, and just more enjoyable. For flight tracking and flight logging, 100% look no further than Volanta. Essentially, Volanta is like Flight Radar 24, but for Flight Simulator. It records your flights, it gives you stats on your flights, it generates maps of where you've flown, it logs all of your flights, you can connect with friends, see where they're flying, you can see their stats, and see how shit they are at landing as well. There are so many features, I could probably make a whole video just on Volanta. Go ahead, create a free account, and you can use Volanta, and you can pretty much get everything you need out of a free account. There is a premium subscription which adds the ability to be able to save flights on a cloud, auto-save flights, HD maps, and flight replays, and also quicker live tracking of your flights as well. But like I said, the free version is more than enough if you're just starting out. Now, for navigation and charts, I mentioned Navigraph before. Navigraph gives real-world Jeppesen charts, nav data updates, and it integrates seamlessly with SimBrief and most popular third-party planes. The only downside to Navigraph is it is a paid subscription, but there are free alternatives that exist. And the free alternative that I used to use was ChartFox. ChartFox is a completely free chart database. Now, the only problem with ChartFox is it is community powered. So I believe people need to upload and update the charts. And you might find that some charts for certain airports aren't even included. So it's definitely not as polished or as in-depth as Navigraph, but it's very handy. And if you're mostly flying around the major airports in big cities, I'm pretty certain that you're going to find all the charts that you need on ChartFox. Personally, I use Navigraph. Air traffic control tools. If you're looking to get more immersion out of your game, you need to look outside of the Flight Simulator air traffic control. That is shit. I don't know how they've done it so bad, but the inbuilt air traffic control on Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 is just diabolical. It is so bad. And it was literally the first setting I turned off when I bought 2024. You could go for a free alternative, which is Vatsim. Now, Vatsim is a real-time online air traffic control network. You're actually talking to real humans, who are sitting behind their simulator setups, acting as air traffic control. You get to talk to human controllers, you get to fly with other real pilots. It is incredible that this platform even exists. And yes, it requires a fair bit of learning and a bit of courage to actually use, but nothing beats this for realism. It's actually such serious business that if you want to become an air traffic controller on Vatsim, you need to go through like a pretty intense course before you can actually come out the other end and jump on the servers and start controlling traffic around you. Now, from memory, I could be wrong, but I feel like there was a little quiz that you had to do as a pilot before you could start flying on Vatsim as well. Now, perhaps you're not up to using Vatsim. You don't have the equipment for it, you don't have the know-how, or you're just a little bit uncomfortable doing it. It's so fair and so understandable. It actually does take a bit of courage to jump on the Vatsim network, whether you're an air traffic controller or a pilot. And this is a known thing in the community. So perhaps you can go for the alternative, which is an AI air traffic control program. Now, personally, I use Beyond ATC. Now, Beyond ATC links to my SimBrief. So what I would do is jump on SimBrief, generate a flight plan, then jump onto Flight Simulator. Once I'm logged in and loaded up at the gate, I'll then open Beyond ATC, and Beyond ATC actually talks to SimBrief and gets all of my flight plan details from SimBrief, and it will actually guide me through my flight plan as an air traffic controller. Now, this tool is incredible for those who aren't too confident talking to air traffic control because the AI can actually handle all the communications for you. There's settings on Beyond ATC which allow an AI pilot to respond to all air traffic control instructions. And essentially all you need to do as a pilot is just listen to what the ATC air traffic controller is saying and just fly the plane to those instructions. Beyond ATC does still have some quirks. I know that they're onto it, they're ironing the quirks out, but they've come so far in such a short amount of time. There is another air traffic control plugin called Say Intentions. I've heard a lot of really good things about Say Intentions, but I haven't actually used it myself, so I'm not going to comment on that. But just to summarize that, for true immersion and as real life as it can be without actually being a real pilot, jump on Vatsim. But if you want something a bit easier, look at Beyond ATC. Alrighty? Now, there's a couple of extra utilities I just want to mention. The first one is SkyDolly. SkyDolly is a flight recorder. It records your flight from start to finish. I personally think it beats the inbuilt flight recorder in Flight Simulator 2024, and it certainly beats the inbuilt flight recorder for Flight Simulator 2020. The best part, it's free. So definitely grab SkyDolly if you are on PC. It doesn't work on Xbox, and it won't work on PlayStation, I don't think. The other utility I really recommend is just getting any pushback tool. Pushback is the first thing that you need to perform when you're at the gate, when you start a flight. For immersion purposes, for just simply convenience, to be able to have the game push you back while you're turning the engines on or running checklists, it's just a no-brainer. You need a pushback tool. There's free ones that you can get. There's paid ones that you can get. I use Better Pushback Tool, and there's a lot of inbuilt pushback systems in the third-party aircraft as well. You know, they're actually built into the iPads and stuff like that. Free aircraft. Depending on what game you buy, whether it's a standard edition, deluxe edition, aviators edition, whatever it is, the more expensive version of the game that you buy, you know, the more planes that are going to come with that game. Needless to say, some of these planes aren't up to scratch. For the most part, they all do what they're meant to do. But, you know, if you're looking for real life systems and stuff, you're not going to get that in every single stock plane that comes with the game. You're more likely to get these from third-party developers. Now, there's actually a couple of third-party developers out there who give out free, very high-quality planes. And I'm talking about fly-by-wire. The fact that they've got an A380 and A320 that has pretty much every button, knob, system that works and is very accurate is mind-blowing. It's crazy that it's free. So if you're on PC, look at the fly-by-wire aircraft. You can download these in 4K or 8K, and they perform very well. I believe there's an Airbus A330 that you can also get for free. Is it Headwind? I might have to look into that, but there's definitely a handful of really high quality free aircraft that you can simply just download and install into Microsoft Flight Simulator if you are on a PC. Now, you might be listening to this going, Oz, this is great and all, but where do I buy or download all these things? And let me just say this. If there's one reason you should get Flight Simulator on your PC over any console, it's the fact that you can use a website called flightsim.to. It is a PC-only web browser, and it is your one-stop shop for pretty much all of these things I've just mentioned. You know, from third-party aircraft, liveries, utilities, your pushback tools, charts, any mod that you can think of is pretty much on flightsim.to. Third-party developers take time out of their days to recreate airports to make them look more realistic, to modify airplanes to become more realistic. And essentially they upload them to flightsim.to for the flight sim community to log on and download for free. There are paid things, and there is now a store on flightsim.to so you can buy even more high quality stuff. But I'm telling you, if you're just starting out playing Flight Simulator, jump on flightsim.to after this video and start downloading whatever you need to make your game look better. So I've just spoken a lot about the software side of Flight Simulator, but what about the hardware? that you need. Now, what I don't recommend is you play Flight Simulator with a mouse and a keyboard alone. It's too hard to control the plane and camera views, and it's seriously not immersive. You may as well not play the game. No offense if you do this, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anyone. If you can, try and avoid playing the game just with a mouse and a keyboard alone. If you can, at a bare minimum, invest in just a gaming controller. Look, you've probably flown planes on GTA. This is pretty much going to be the same thing on Flight Simulator. Plug in an Xbox or PlayStation controller and you're off. It's so much more immersive already than a mouse and a keyboard. Ideally, I'd recommend that you invest in a cheap joystick and a cheap yoke. But if you had to pick one, I'd probably go with a joystick so that you can fly all aircraft from general aviation to commercial aircraft, fighter jets. Now, if you want like a mid-tier hardware setup, you might be looking at something like what I've got. I've got a Boeing yoke, the Thrustmaster throttle quadrants, and rudder pedals. It's great for your hand, eye/feet coordination practice. And because I'm actually doing flight training in real life, I'm finding that it's a bit more immersive to sit in my chair and fly with this as opposed to if I was using a controller or just a joystick or something like that. That's a mid-tier sort of setup, and it does cost a lot of money. There's a lot of companies out there now that are making so much more flight sim gear now than we've ever seen before. Like, you can literally have a cockpit in your living room, but just make sure you don't go buying unnecessary gear just for the sake of it. Instead, I'd actually recommend you invest some of that money into building or buying a better PC to handle the game. Monitors don't really matter too much. Obviously, a nice, juicy 4K monitor would be great, but I'm just running two 1080p monitors, and it's fine for now. And you don't need two screens. Two screens just adds a bit more ability to have Volanta or your charts on one screen with the game on the other. So in summary for your hardware, at a bare minimum, go and grab an Xbox or PlayStation controller, but if you can go one step above and invest in a cheap joystick, definitely do that. Alrighty. What do we know about Flight Simulator 2024 for PS5 so far? Well, we know that it's going to be available to the public on December the 8th of this year, which is literally 2 months from when I record this. But if you pre-order the Deluxe, Premium Deluxe, or Aviator Edition, you're going to gain access to the game about a week earlier on December the 3rd. You're going to have access to the new career mode, missions, and of course the free flight mode that we all know and love. So you PlayStation players are essentially getting what we've had now for about a year. But I'm not going to lie to you, PlayStation's probably getting it at its best version that we've ever seen. I mean, us PC and Xbox players have had to deal with some serious shit. It was probably the worst launch of a game that any company has ever experienced. And you bloody PlayStation guys and girls are just going to swoop in when it's at its best. Flight Sim 2024 is going to be designed to take full advantage of the PlayStation's hardware. So I've heard they're going to try and utilize the DualSense wireless controllers by incorporating features like adaptive triggers. Apparently the air traffic control communications might even come through the controller speakers and little features like that, which are going to be pretty cool. PlayStation VR 2 will be available in 2026. So as I record this, I believe Xbox has no VR capabilities. PC obviously does. And PlayStation will be getting it early 2026. Now, it's not yet fully clear if all third-party add-ons and mods will be available straight away. All those things I've mentioned that you can get on flightsim.to, I don't know if you're going to be able to access them. I do believe it's going to be similar to Xbox, where they'll have like a marketplace type setup. And again, similar to Xbox, you're going to expect some performance compromises for the PS5, as opposed to if you were playing on a PC. Alrighty, now just before we wrap up this flight, there's a couple of mistakes I want you guys and girls to try and avoid. Simulators these days are insanely accurate and they can be very difficult. So I recommend that you go and learn the planes, watch YouTube tutorials. There's so many of them out there. I've even got a couple on my channel. Do your due diligence and try and learn how certain planes and systems work so you get more out of it. It really is one of those simulators and those games that you get out what you put in. If you're happy to spawn on a runway and the engine's already running and all the systems are on, that's so fine. You can do that. You can take off. You can fly around. You can see the landmarks of the world. No problem. But if you want a bit more immersion, a bit more realism, and you want to kind of learn and educate yourself on how these planes work, then take the time and watch these YouTube tutorials, man. There's so many of them out there. When you load up the game for the first time, it's going to pretty much recommend a graphics setting, I believe, for the system that you have so that it runs smoothly. But you should probably expect for the next couple of days to tweak settings here and there to actually suit the system that you have. So make sure you put some time and effort into that just so that you get less lag and better performance out of your game, which will ultimately lead to you enjoying the game much more. Don't overspend on add-ons. Use websites like flightsim.to if you are on PC to download free sceneries, planes, liveries, instead of buying them if you can. Like I said before, if you can, invest the money back into your system so that you have a stronger PC if you're running PC to handle this game. Now, if you do have any questions on where to begin, what to get, how to get it, please comment below and I'll be more than happy to help, because I remember when I first started playing this sim, it was quite overwhelming. All right, bit of a longer episode today. Hopefully you enjoyed the views coming into Tokyo. If you did enjoy this or you got something from this video, please consider subscribing. Look, it's 2025. We all know how helpful subscribing is. I don't have to go on a big spiel about it. Comments, share this video with people who you think that might actually get something out of it. And as always, happy flying.